Welcome to Youthology Live. This is episode 44. Hi, I'm Jeff Grinnell. Thank you for joining us tonight. You do not want to miss this. And you don't want one of your friends to miss this either. As a matter of fact, why don't you text somebody, get on the phone, and invite them to this podcast. They have got to hear this today, because one of the things that has been asked of me lately in my travels is the idea and the process of mentoring. So on the podcast today, we are going to deal with a 5-step process of mentoring. So you know how the format goes. We only have 12 minutes to do this. Sometimes we roll in a little longer, but you can check us out at youthology.com. The manuscript will be there this week. The video will be there this week. You can also go to YouTube or go to our YouTube page. You can go to iTunes. You can follow the podcast on iTunes under Jeff Grinnell or Youthology, and join us at any time, during your workout, in the car, in the office, at lunchtime, or whatever. You know how to do that. As a matter of fact, they say 71% of millennials are listening to a podcast once a week. So why not do this one? All right? So anyway, again, welcome to Youthology Live. And tonight we're dealing with mentoring, the 5-step process of mentoring. As a youth leader, one of the critical roles that we have is youth development, okay? Leadership development, personal leadership development, because you all know the hardest person to lead is not the group, and it's not the mentee, the person that you're working with, the individual. The hardest person to lead is yourself. True? It is for me. So anyway, all of those kinds of responsibilities as a youth leader are critical for our success. But tonight what we're going to talk about is personal, one-on-one, one-on-two mentoring. So let's get this straight first. I want to give you a definition for mentoring, because sometimes that can be it can be misleading, okay? And because sometimes we exchange the definition for mentoring with maybe discipleship or coaching, or there are a lot of different buzzwords for that. But mentoring is specific. Mentoring is smaller, okay? So let me give you just a simple definition. Mentoring is relational, okay? Mentoring is relational, kind of like a rabbi. A rabbi never had large groups of people at a time. It was always a smaller group of people at one time. And so it's more rabbinical in that sense. So mentoring is relational. Secondly, although the terms sometimes get switched up, mentoring is pure accountability. Sometimes coaching is not accountability, or discipleship is not accountability, because it's more teaching or instruction and not as much inspiration and relational. I teach at the university level. When I'm in a classroom of 20 students or 30 students, I'm not mentoring, okay? I'm teaching, maybe coaching, maybe discipleship, right? But I'm not mentoring. Mentoring is more relational, and I can't have a relationship with all of my students in that setting. So when we're thinking of mentoring, I don't want you to see a large group. I want you to see a smaller group, okay? So that's the first thing I want to challenge you with. And then secondly, with mentoring, the definition there first. Secondly, with mentoring, I want to encourage you that it must be done on a regular or cyclical basis. In other words, what I mean by that is to maybe choose 2 or 3 mentees, or students. I'll go over some other names for those in a minute here. I want you to choose 2 or 3 at a time, maybe 4 at the most. Really, I try to keep it to 2 or 3, and let that course run for a period of time, and then move on to another group, so that you are spreading yourself and you are working through the entire, maybe if you started with the adult leadership team, okay, if we just use that as the example, and you would work through the leadership team in a year, okay? So something like that. So first of all, the definition, being relational and inspirational, instructional, yes, but more personal, okay? And then secondly, the idea of a cycle and working through your entire team, and not just spending all of your time with 1 or 2. Now, that will naturally happen, whether that's interns or right-hand people, the first among equals, I like to call them, the closer ones that will be that will surround you and chase you more than anyone else. That's natural, but it's really important that you work through the entire leadership team as the lead youth pastor or volunteer, youth leader over a place, that you spend critical time 3 or 4 months out of the year with each person. Okay, that's exhausting, isn't it? That sounds exhausting to me. And it is, because I've done this. Okay, one of my joys, and anybody that knows me, I am mentoring twice a year. Very difficult in the summertime for me, but I do it in the fall to the winter to the spring. About 2 or 3, I've gone to 4, but different individuals. So about total of 5 to 7 or so every year, people that I pour my life into. And so I want to help you with that process. I get asked that question all the time. How do I do that? What does that look like? Give me the practice. So let me give you 5 key success factors for mentoring. I'm going to give them to you real quick, and then I'm going to spend a minute on each one, and then we're done. And then I'm going to blog on them so you can go on them. You can get to them later. Okay. So number 1, you need a personal mission statement entering into the relationship. Number 2, communicate the entire process with the person that you are mentoring. Number 3, you should be pursued by the protege or the mentee or the student. Number 4, know when to be finished. That impasse idea, I'll get to that in a minute, but know when to be finished. It should not be an ongoing, long-term relationship, okay? And then finally, be creative in the meetings, and I'm going to go through some things with that. Okay, so let me go to this first one, writing a personal mission statement. So what we mean by this is simple. At the beginning of this relationship, there should be some kind of an application process. All of my students, when they go through it, and if you're interested, I can send you the info. I can just email, send me a contact through youthology.com, and I can send you the whole process. It's about 8 pages long with everything. But the mission statement is driven by maybe the first informational meeting, where you ask questions such as, what do you want to get out of these meetings? Okay? The protege, the mentee, the student should be able to clearly say to you, this is what I want out of this relationship, so that you have clearly specified goals. So that's what we mean by the mission statement. Let me read you this too. There is a reason that I do not mentor business students, or there's a reason why I do not mentor students in children's ministry or whatever, right? I want to mentor people that have my life mission statement, and it matches up with my goals. I'm a professional at youth ministry. I am not a professional at children's ministry. I am not a professional entrepreneur at starting businesses. So you should be training or mentoring in like kind or type calling, giftings, mission, vision. It's easy for me to talk youth ministry, right? I don't want to spend all of my time to be honest, any of my time in my minors. I want to spend time in my majors. So that's what we mean by the mission statement. Number 2, communicate the entire process. So at the beginning, when I tell you that I have this application process, a packet, in that packet are all kinds of questions to get me to understand the person. Then after that, the questions, spiritual, like a spiritual assessment. Where were you 6 months ago in your spiritual life? Where were you 1 year ago in your spiritual life? What are your sins of commission, sins you've committed? What are your sins of omission, sins that you've omitted? So all of this is in that. It helps me to get to know them. Strengths and weaknesses. Okay, that's the first part of the process, getting to know each other. The second part of the process that you'll see in the relationship is correcting along the way and making sure that you're staying on the course of the intended mission or reason why you're meeting. That's critical. That is critical. Listen, communicating the entire process will allow for definition of the objectives and defining the win for both of you. So if I communicate the process of relational at the beginning, getting to know them, then that is spiritual assessment, And then the mid-course correction, drawing us back. Are we solving the issues and the things that you wanted to talk about? So I'm always correcting mid-course, and I'll pull out that mission statement. Okay, listen, this is what we wanted to. This is what we wanted to. These are our objectives. We wanted to do this. We wanted to solve this. We wanted to help you in this spiritual discipline area. Are we doing that? Right. So we're always driving ourselves back to that. Listen, the last thing you want is to just get together and talk. There's moments for that. Generally, I do that toward the beginning, and then it gets intensive with accountability and difficult questions, and then I'll get into maybe inspirational, relational again, and then maybe dig in. So there's times for that, but it shouldn't just be going to a coffee shop, coming into the office, meeting at a wherever, and just talking. So how are you? Right? There's got to be intention and objectives to it. So that was number 2, communication of the entire process. Then, thirdly, is that you should be pursued by the protege. This is a quick one, but I remind myself of this often. If the protege or the mentee is coming in late, uninvolved, uninterested in the meetings, the chemistry, then don't meet. Okay, I don't have time for somebody that doesn't have time for me. I don't want to spend extra time at this point in my life with people who aren't interested in the meeting. I want people who will come to the meeting early and be there 5 minutes early. I want people who will come to the meeting with an agenda, and they don't walk in and go, so what do you want to talk about today? No. Oftentimes in the process, I will even tell them, listen, next week you bring the agenda. You know where we want to go with this, but you bring the agenda. I'm not going to bring the agenda. You can pick my brain. We can talk about this. So I can tell the chemistry in the relationship by the involvement and the passion for the meeting, okay, of the mentee and how hungry they are for the meeting. So you should be pursued, okay? If there's no hunger there, it will be very difficult to have successful meetings. Okay, we just don't want to meet to meet. We want to meet with purpose. So number 4, know when to be finished with the mentoring relationship. This is critical. I don't think a mentoring relationship needs to go more than a quarter of a year. 3 or 4 months. Mine are never more than 4 months. Sometimes I'll come out of those meetings if maybe we got interrupted in those meetings with my travel schedule or their work schedule, or we had some things come up we couldn't meet. Sometimes I'll go into another session or maybe a month of sessions, but it's rare because we can get plenty done that we need to in 4 months. Especially knowing this. Here's the specific format that we're looking for. So when we talk about the mentoring meeting itself, when it's done, when it starts and all that. So what I do is 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And we're done then. We're not going to talk 45, 50 minutes to an hour. It's 30 minutes and we get to it. We get to one point and maybe we're wrapping up what we did last week. And then we get into the topic and we might discuss quickly what we're going to do next week, maybe an assignment or whatever. But never more than 30 minutes. Just get right to it. Because 30 minutes is a long time if you're pointed and you're focused. The other thing I do is to make sure that in the meetings specifically, knowing when to quit and all of that, that you are going back to the process, going kind of like we said in the other point with mid-course correction, but you're going back to the process to measure whether you're on topic, not general talk. Make sure that you're on topic and make sure both of you know, the mentee and the mentor, make sure both of you know that this is what we're talking about today. And keep the conversation from drifting, okay? Focus is critical. And then there comes an impasse on the topic and an impasse in the relationship. So after 4 months, if you feel like the topics aren't covered, you keep the topics going. But if you feel like you've covered everything you can and now it's time for someone else to speak into that person's life, that's when the impasse happens and the meeting is completed. Now, some people will have an ongoing relationship with you. That's not what we're talking about here. I have an ongoing relationship with many of the people I've mentored. As a matter of fact, almost weekly. Man, if I thought about it, I'll bet weekly. I contact, or one of my mentees from the past will contact me. Hey, how are you doing, Jeff? Man, I'm doing great. And they'll check in with me. And sometimes I'll call them and just say, man, I was praying for you. I was thinking about you. You doing good? So there's a lot of that going on, but not the specific meeting. That would require a lot. Now, I do believe you have sons and daughters and people that will be close to you over time. And I do have several of those, but knowing when to be finished, a quarter of the year is good. 30 minutes, making sure the topic is the same in each, you're staying on topic in each meeting. Okay, finally, be creative with the meetings. Listen to this. This is what I want to read you this. Be creative with the meetings because you can gain an edge. You get an edge of excitement. Be creative with the place, the time, the setting, the time frame. These are all very important to the success of the relationship. Mix it up often to shock the meetings. Like if maybe the last meeting got a little slow, then next time meet somewhere else. Okay, meet for lunch at a ball game, maybe at the mall or an airport or something different. Obviously, we don't want to do that all the time because sometimes you just can't get into general talk in a public place. Specific talk often will happen in a specific place. Okay? So think through some of these things. Hopefully that will help you. The creativities of the meeting was number 5. Number 4, know when to be finished with the mentoring relationship. Number 3, you should be pursued by the protege. There should be passion from the mentee. Number 2, communication of the entire process and keeping that on course through mid-course correction. A personal mission statement, okay? Making sure that you start the meetings knowing what the win is, and you've defined the win and all of that, okay? So in your coaching and in your mentoring, if you need any further help on this, just email me. I've got a document that I can send you, and I think it will help you tremendously for you to become a professional, a really good mentor. Okay, not just in general discipleship and hanging out with people. All right, I think you see the point. So hopefully this was helpful. And again, please visit us at iTunes, visit us on all the social media, on our YouTube page, or youthology.com.